beloved of God on behalf of 4 South Coast clergy. I'm Reverend Amy Lignitz-Harkin. I'm the minister at Mattapoisett Congregational Church, United Church of Christ. I'm joined by Reverend Betty McClure and Islela Rodriguez of Fairhaven, by Reverend Emily Johnson Keller of South Dartmouth, and by Reverend Philomena Hare of Wareham. Since the pandemic began, we and a few other clergy in the area have been meeting weekly by Zoom in a spirit of collegiality and collaboration to best serve you, the people of God, in these very trying times. Recently, after a mob of rioters swarmed into and desecrated our nation's capital, we found ourselves lamenting together for our nation and for you. So we agreed that it would be good to give voice to our collective anguish over the deadly events of January 6th and our collective anxiety over the prospects of continued violence, and to offer assurance of the faithfulness of God in all seasons, in all circumstances. So what follows is to recognize the pain, the dismay, and anger that we may be feeling right now. To lift to God the burdens of our hearts, and to recall and ultimately give thanks for the faithfulness of our Creator God. So we offer this in love, in great hope, and with all hope that you will be blessed.
My name is Emily Keller, and I am the pastor of the Congregational Church of South Dartmouth, an open and affirming congregation of the United Church of Christ. And today I'd like to share with you a psalm of lament from the book Psalms of Lament by Anne Weems. And I would like to share with you Psalm 32. O God, explain to me the cruelty of your world. Make sense of those who make no sense. Tell me why the innocent die and evil people live to kill again. Tell me why the faithful are shunned and the self-righteous point their fingers. Tell me why the wounded are wounded and sorrow falls on the shoulder of sorrow. Tell me why the abused are abused and the victims victimized. Tell me why the rains come to the drowning and aftershocks follow earthquakes. Oh God, is this any way to run a world? Oh merciful one, let us rest between tragedies. Speak to us, for we are your people. Speak to us of hope for the hopeless and love for the unloved and homes for the homeless and dignity for the dying and respect for the disdained. Speak to us, O God, of the resurrected one. Speak to us of hope. For in spite of the tidal wave of tears, we remember your story of new life. Tell the world again, O God of creation, tell us that winter will fade and spring will wash us new, and the world will green again. And we will be new creations in the garden of our God. Free us from these tentacles of sorrow, and we will fall on our faces and worship you. O God of goodness. O God of a new green world. Peace be with you.
The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning. great is your faithfulness. These words of praise and assurance come from the 3rd chapter of the book of Lamentations in the Hebrew Scriptures. They remind us that through all the trials and difficulties of life, God is with us and is faithful and merciful to all of God's people. The words give us something to hold on to when the world around us seems chaotic and out of control. Thomas Chisholm was an American songwriter who wrote several well-known Christian hymns, including Great is Thy Faithfulness, which includes these words from Lamentations. When he was 75, Chisholm wrote, "My income has not been large at any time due to impaired health in the earlier years, which has followed me until now. Although I must not fail to record here the unfailing faithfulness of a covenant-keeping God, and that he has given me many wonderful displays of his providing care, for which I am filled with astonishing gratefulness. That deep faith is expressed throughout Great is Thy Faithfulness." Martin Luther once wrote that beautiful music is the art of prophets that can calm the agitations of the souls. It is one of the most magnificent and delightful presents God has given to us. May we receive that gift and sense God's faithfulness deep within us as we listen to this music.
Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for God's compassion never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Just another ordinary Wednesday until it wasn't. My dear friends, every Wednesday since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, I've gathered with other faithful colleagues from around the country for a time of prayer and guided meditation. This gathering, led and organized by Shalem Institute in the District of Columbia, offers prayers for our cities and towns, our neighbors, our country, our friends, ourselves, our families, and our world. We pray in silence and we listen. We listen to the Spirit moving in our midst. Every Wednesday morning, we pray and we listen. January 6, 2021 was no different. Just another ordinary Wednesday morning prayer time. Oh, did I say it was an ordinary Wednesday? Well, it was until it wasn't. Because by early afternoon, we witnessed, and I quote from the Washington Post, supporters of President Donald Trump breached the US Capitol on January 6th in Washington, D.C., during a rally to contest the certification of the 2020 presidential election. End of quote. And so, my friend, as the scenes unfolded, I, like many of you, experienced overwhelming emotions, emotions ranging from shock and horror to fear, despair, and anger, and everything else in between. But what if I told you that we are not the only ones or the first people to witness a sense of desolation and desecration of a once proud institution? You see, the prophet Jeremiah looked around at the destruction and desolation of his one great city, Jerusalem, a city destroyed and a people taken captive. And he too lamented the death, the suffering, the destruction. And so today we are the beneficiaries of his reactions to the anguish and deep pain he experienced. But in spite of what he saw and witnessed, the prophet of God left us a word and a path forward. You see, looking back, he imagined himself captured in a city, besieged by a king with an agenda that was at odds with God's vision for the world and for God's people. He saw a broken people. He saw a people with dashed hopes. He saw a proud city in ruins, a temple that has stood for centuries, burned and in rubble. He also saw a tyrant king who, filled with blind political ambition and greed for power, instilled fear and despair in the people. But here's the good news. Jeremiah records what he had witnessed, the fear, the destruction, the isolation. He pours out his heart to God and cries for strength and help. he cries out to the God of Abraham and Isaac, the God of Jacob and Sarah, and Rachel and Leah, and the God of Hagar. He cried out to your God, my God. And in the middle of all that mess, all the pain, all the suffering, Jeremiah finds hope in God's faithfulness. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for God's compassion never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. My friends, the Church of Jesus Christ is not aligned with the national agenda of any one particular nation, no matter how noble, no matter how lofty. The church is God's answer to a broken world and a path to reconciliation and transformation. Our hope does not come from the White House, the Upper House, or any other house built by merely human hands. Our hope is built on a more solid foundation. Holy God of our past and our present, we too pour out our hearts to you. And may the words spoken to us by the prophets continue to remind us of your promise to never leave or abandon us. And so, in the words of our brother Howard Thurman, we light these candles. We light candles of joy, despite all the sadness that threatens to snuff the joy out of our hearts. We light candles of hope in all the places in our families, our neighborhoods, our cities and towns, and throughout all creation where despair is keeping watch. We light candles of courage for every fearful feeling present within us. We light candles of peace for tempest-tossed days, like January 6th. We offer candles of grace to ease the heavy burdens we bear, and we light candles of love. May love of God, love of neighbor, love of self inspire all our living. We light candles of hope, courage, peace, grace, love. May they burn brightly all year long.